One of the most frustrating experiences is trying to put your friend onto a story, and no matter how well you sell it to them, they just look away to whatever everyone else is watching. Then complain that there isn't anything good or unique nowadays. Luckily for me, I have this lovely little whatever this channel is, where I get to put y'all on instead. So don't be that person that just looks away at something special. Like this manga, Punk Gun, written and illustrated by Oki Naoki. The year is 2970. Dead City. The den of crime and desire. A young man has joined the police force and tries to make a change, even if it's a small one. Children have no real home in the slums and must resort to collecting scraps, committing crimes, or even worse, having a job just to survive. Like these two, Keiichi and Aiboba, who do such things to help the other unfortunate orphans. One of the orphans brings up their concern over them committing crimes, and the stress is starting to kick in. But then the girl goes out on her own and ends up kidnapped by a mysterious man. The two ask for directions, and one of the prostitutes tells them to go home. Aiboba won't be turned away so easily, however. Hey, talk. You know that Assassin's Creed feeling when the animus boots up and you realize every move is about to matter? I went into this expecting a simple side game and instead found myself planning progression, optimizing decisions, and actually locking in. That's when it clicked. This is Raid Shadow Legends, and right now it's crossing over with Assassin's Creed in a way that's kind of insane. Farming War Maiden at campaign level 9, a little tip, saves you a ton of trouble later, and Haikatoon being free after 30 days is honestly huge. Stuff like that makes progression feel earned instead of random. One of my personal favorites is Siegfried the Nephilim. Part of it is his design, absolute anime final boss vibes, but his abilities are actually cracked too, so it's not just style over substance. Now here's the part that actually made me stop and go, okay, that's wild. Ezio, Edward Kenway, Bayek, Basim, and Cassandra are all joining as limited-time legendary champions, which is kind of insane if you grew up on those games. You can log in for 7 days and get Ezio for free, plus gear that makes leveling him smooth and right out of the gate. The cinematics and animations honestly feel like a AAA cutscene quality, and if you download the game through my link or QR code, not only will you get Ezio, but you will get super overpowered legendaries right away. Tholan Foulbeard, Venom Mage on level 15, and one of the best revivers, Rector Drath on level 30. Plus bonus gems and shards. That bonus is only available this way and it's time sensitive, so if you've been slightly curious, now's the time. Scan the QR code, grab the champions, log in for Ezio, join my clan, and jump right in before the event disappears. Using the link directly supports the channel and lets me put more time and money into the bigger anime videos you're here for. Worst case, you bounce back after checking it out. Best case, you end up enjoying it way more than expected. Either way, it's a win-win. Punk Gun, with just around 20 chapters, has entered my must-keep-up-with series, along with the Nido Exorcist, Trojan X, Bug Ego, and Fool's Night. Out of all the ones I just listed, if I had to make a comparison, it would have to be with Fool's Night, since they share a common theme in people trying to choose the correct path and living in a world where it seems to encourage evil and stepping over others to obtain a good life. Fool's Night takes more of a look at the people at the top and corporate greed with an emotionally sad story, while Punk Gun handles things at the time being on a lower level. Kids trying to survive in the slums with two close friends that seem fated to go on opposite paths. Fool's Night essentially has more of a psychological approach, while Punk Gun at the time of this recording is a lot more action-centered. And I think focusing on a much younger main character than someone older, which is a bit more typical for seinen manga, allows for us to see the root, the origins, and the factors that will heavily affect them. So if there is a turning point, there's no real need for a flashback outside of the main mystery of the story. We get to witness the growth of these characters firsthand. I remember the feelings the last two manga that pulled that left on me. Do you remember the terrorist incident from a few years back? The 111 incident? Yeah. Most of the attackers were coerced young teens, gathered through human trafficking and kidnapping. Some of the perps still haven't been caught. They can't just take in kids with unknown backgrounds, especially since a child raised in a completely different environment could be a bad influence on others. We have a duty to protect the citizens, but only within the rules set by our superiors. I know the feeling of wanting to save a fledgling that's fallen from its nest, but interfering with the natural order of things always comes with responsibility. That quote comes from a little later on in the manga, but I nonetheless felt it was appropriate to bring up now. Going back to the story, Keiichi goes to the police, while Aiboba goes into a hotel and finds Anna, the girl who ran away, being held hostage by someone they saw on a wanted poster. Wolfman, who has a bounty of over 400,000, which, considering it's a manga, probably translates to $1,000 or so, if yen is the original source. And given this is a far future and inflation, look, legally this isn't financial advice, but if you haven't been looking into a high-yield savings account, you might want to educate yourself. Anyways, Wolfman is a sick, twisted individual who believes life should be lived indulging in whatever desires you have. And in his mind, whatever is whatever. This becomes a common theme with more of the villains in the story, exploring the reasons people fall into a degenerate life, but I was pretty shocked when I saw this sick fuck for the first time. But more on the ideology the manga explores in a bit. Aiboba, after getting hit in the head, pulls a bullet out from under his eyelid and shoots Wolfman, saving Anna, and when the police show up, he asks for the prize money. The kids all celebrate the big prize money, and Keiichi says it should be up to Aiboba. Quote, "In that case, I want to save up more and build a big house where we can all live happily." Then Aiboba brings up that he wants to do bounty hunting, since it will solve all of their financial issues without having to do any moral compromises. The police talk about the struggles of orphanages staying open in the area, and we see the next bounty. A person dressed up like a plague doctor with a group of junkie followers. You suffer because you try to aim too high, beyond your capabilities. Do only what you can do. Do only what you want to do. Do not ask for much. Simply cling to your place of rest. Embrace degeneracy. That is the greatest happiness. There is a tremendous amount of upside and potential I see with this story, despite it being in its introductory phase, getting us grounded with all of the major players that will exist in the story, and I'm already hooked on the path each of them will take and what could possibly happen to set them down certain roads, since at the moment, it has a villain of the week formula going for it. The long-term threat lies hidden in the past of Aiboba, in particular, his high tolerance for pain and his deformed face. It's easy to be super sympathetic for this little can of whoop-ass, but the story doesn't shy away from the more volatile qualities he has in comparison to Keiichi. I won't get into it too much, but the Birdman encounter does a number on them, especially when it turns out they aren't the only bounty hunters out there. Each chapter is a rush to read through. 20 chapters felt like 8 in the best way possible, and chapter 15 in particular was the moment where I knew this wasn't going to be a second channel video. Sometimes something just scratches the itch you have in your brain, like Coke. Punk Gun does something that's simple in concept, but good execution of it goes a long way. And that's the idea of grounding your ideas first, like mentioned earlier, before expanding and going off to other ideas. Because you truly risk losing the audience in a million different things without immersing them into this world with these few characters first. On top of that, I really vibe with the art style and the artwork. The designs of the characters carry a nice amount of simplicity but plenty of personality, and that also applies to the animalistic theme going on with each bounty. But also the action shots blew my mind, caught me off guard, genuinely. It feels like somebody is illustrating an explosion even when there isn't one happening. I love the mix of detailed and dark designs for the adults and the bad guys, while in the same panel having such a clean, cartoony look for the younger ones. It's a nice little contrast, allowing the expressions to really stand out, since that's really all you have to focus when it comes to them. This, along with the intentional and strong use of contrast and also selective moments of detail, really sells the tone and emotions of certain shots. The moments it really wants to depict a feeling, I felt grabbed by my heart and pulled along, especially when that's mixed in with moments of action. I was really hoping I would find more of Naoki's works, but as for now, it seems that there is nothing. Other than a short horse story, but nothing as an assistant or any other major work that I could look at and enjoy more of this art from. Punk Gun is nowhere near the first story to address the idea of living in a messed up and broken down world, but it's already implementing different perspectives that allow for a good internal thought about what can be done to deal with it all, and true sickos like Wolfman, or to prevent tragedies like Panda Woman. I am telling y'all, read chapter 15 and come back to this video just to let me know your thoughts, because that fucking chapter punched me. At the very end, it left me there. All right, just let me know. Come back here. Believe me, we got to talk about it. If there is something worth mentioning, is the dialogue at times, it can come off a bit on the nose and preachy about how messed up society is, but it makes sense given how deranged the characters are. But that's the one thing I could think of that bothered me a little if I had to find any issue with the series up to this point. Now, if by chapter 70 it doesn't take that leap into the next layer of addressing these things as the characters grow more, then we'll have a bit of a problem. But for now, it was just something that caught my attention a little. Again, as long as it doesn't get repetitive with the points the villains make, then I can see it really layering things more and more, and using the villains as a good measuring stick for where Keiichi is, but more importantly, Aiboba. The ideology of the manga that's explored seems to be the difference between a cop and a bounty hunter, the pros and cons, and ultimately, which of the two will make a difference. I could be getting ahead of myself when it comes to the real message of the story, since we won't really know until it's far more completed, but from this early part, that doesn't seem to be the biggest stretch to look at it this way. The premise isn't anything super unique, but I'm so looking forward to Aiboba's character. If this manga, for some reason, gets cancelled, then I don't know what I'm going to do, because my faith in regarding the new series will be obliterated. We still miss you, Phantoms here. But despite how on the nose it is with the grim reality of things, there is an inspirational beauty that shines through with the characters that decide to live life in a more noble way, or to be more accurate, to live life their way. The potential for this to be an awesome action-packed story full of tragedy and the exploration of whether it's worth keeping your hands completely clean, if otherwise means you can provide for the ones you care about and live the way you want, all with plenty of mystery on the back burner. All of this happening while you risk looking away and missing out.